Hi everyone, Hazel Bella here to show you how to make kale chips. It's very easy, it's not hard. The prep time is about 2 or 3 minutes, which I have already done. You need 2 trays to bake in the oven. You need a bowl to wash the kale in. You need your kale, which I picked up from a local food store. Any kale will do. If you're more picky and you like organic kale or regular kale, there are 2 different types of kale. There's the darker, more hard kind, and this is the lighter, softer green leafy kind. I like this kind, so it is a personal preference. And you also need your other ingredients here. I have extra virgin olive oil, in which you're going to lay out on the trays so that it doesn't stick to the trays. I use white vinegar to clean off any of my vegetables or fruits. It's just a backup. A lot of salads and kale and other items are pre-washed, but I like to wash them and use the white vinegar to make sure there's nothing on there. And of course, salt. The type of kale chips that I'm going to make are just simple kale chips with olive oil and salt. You can get fancy and do other recipes, but today I'm going to show you how to do kale chips in the oven, baked at, I will tell you what, we are going to put on the oven. We are going to put it up to about 375. Some people can do 400 if you like it a little bit more crispy. And then today we're going to go back. We're going to take our kale. We're going to take little pieces off of it. We're going to put it into our bowl and we're going to let it sit and soak for a little while. And then we're going to come back to it. Okay guys, we have now got our kale and we let it soak for a few minutes and I rinsed it off. And the important thing is to dry your kale. If you do not dry your kale properly, it will be wet in the oven and will take longer to cook. The consistency will not come out the same, so remember to dry your kale properly. So now that we have returned to the tray, we are going to grease up the tray a little bit with some olive oil. Just a little bit, don't overdo it. And what you can do is you can tip the tray back and forth to get the olive oil going a little bit. I'm actually going to put a little bit more. I'm going to tip the tray a little bit, and I am a little bit impatient, so I am going to just move the olive oil around a little bit. Grease up the pan fairly well, not too much. Once again, don't get the kale too wet or the consistency might change and it may not cook the same. Kale takes on average about 4 to 7 minutes depending on what type of oven you have and what temperature it's on. So now your tray is greased and we are going to put the kale on. Actually, we are going to take our olive oil here and put the kale and the olive oil together. You're going to drizzle it on just a little bit. You're not going to put too much because if you do, once again, you don't want it too wet. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to put a little bit. Then I'm going to mix the kale around here. Push the olive oil around on it. Once you have a little bit of olive oil on it, you can return to your original area, which I'm going to do for you guys. And please do not take the kale and take it apart. You don't want too small of pieces because kale does shrink in the oven. So what you're going to do now is I'm going to get a handful and show you guys. You can just throw it on the tray, but that won't do it. So what you need to do is you need to open up the leaves a little bit like this. Make sure you're spreading the leaf properly and place it on the tray nicely. Because if you don't, it's going to get more bunched up. And, you know, if you like your kale crunchy, there's nothing wrong with that. More people like their kale a little bit on the crunchy side. I do myself. I wouldn't say burnt, just crunchy. So I'm going to try to do this as fast as I can for you guys. Once again, opening the kale leaf up and placing it on the tray. So opening the kale leaf, not just throwing it on the tray. So open the kale leaf up and place it on the tray. Very good. I didn't actually want this to be a tutorial video, just how easy it is, but I figure I would show you guys because some people are just starting off and really maybe don't know how to bake. I taught myself how to bake. I love my mom, but she didn't teach me everything I needed to know, and after I was diagnosed with my stomach condition and had to go gluten-free, everything was very new to her, so I had to teach myself. So I taught myself how to bake kale, bake cookies. Sure, I will show you guys in another video how to bake snickerdoodle cookies, some of my favorite. So here we are finishing the kale up here. And then once we have put our kale on here, then we are going to, as you can see, the leaves are just about spread out as much as possible. I'll do the rest later. And then we're going to lightly salt it. Okay guys, our kale is now on our sheets. As you can see, it's spread out evenly as possible. Leaves are spread out. I try to do 2 separate trays. You don't want to crowd one tray too much. And we are now going to salt our kale. If you can't use salt, then don't use salt at all, or maybe just a little bit. I have a salt shaker. Not everyone has that luxury. So if you don't, you can just take this. Some of them have a lever on top where you can open it and pour it out and dispense it. Just be very careful because it does come out very quickly. So I'm just going to salt it and show you guys just very lightly. I actually, you know what, I like more salt than the average person probably, so I'm going to salt it a lot. But that's up to you guys how much salt, you know, you want on your kale. Sorry, I know you guys can't see completely, but you know, you might see the little drops of salt there. You'll see it in between. So, you know, we have now salted our kale. Our optimal temperature of 375. We are going to go ahead and open our very hot oven, put the trays in, and bake 4 to 7 minutes depending on your oven.